My girlfriend laughed. Sign the house over or it's over. I replied, all right, I'm a 34-year-old guy living in Columbus, Ohio. And up until a few months ago, I thought I had my life figured out. I had a steady job as an IT project manager. I bought my own house back in 2018, after saving every bonus check I could, and I thought I had found the woman I was going to marry. Her name was Amanda, she's 31, and we'd been together for almost 3 years. People used to tell me we looked like a perfect couple. She was the outgoing one, I was the calm one. I believed them. I was even starting to look at engagement rings. December. It was a Thursday evening, exactly 7:42 p.m., when things began to crack. I remember the time because I had just set my dinner plate on the coffee table. Amanda had cooked pasta. We opened a bottle of cheap red wine, and I thought it was going to be another quiet night. She sat down across from me, crossed her arms, and said, "So when are you going to add my name to the house deed?" I nearly choked on my first bite. "What are you talking about?" I asked. She rolled her eyes. "Don't act dumb. We've been together for years. Couples don't live in houses where only one name is on the deed. If we're serious, my name should be there too." I set down my fork. "Amanda, I bought this house years before I met you. Why would I just give half of it away?" She laughed, not the kind of laugh you want to hear from someone you love. It wasn't playful. It was sharp. She leaned forward and said, "Sign the house over or it's over." Moment the room went silent, except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. My mind raced. Was she actually serious? I stared at her and realized she was dead serious. "All right," I said slowly. Her eyes widened like she couldn't believe. I agreed. So easily. She smirked and took another sip of wine. She didn't know was that all right. Didn't mean what she thought. In my head it meant all right now. I know where we stand. The next morning at exactly 6:58 a.m., I was already making calls. I reached out to a buddy of mine, Chris, who's a lawyer. We've known each other since college. I explained what Amanda had said, and he practically shouted into the phone, "Do not sign anything, and start protecting yourself now." I told him I hadn't signed anything, and never would. He said, "Good. Keep every text, every voicemail, every weird comment she makes. This could get ugly, but if you stay calm, you'll come out fine." Later day, Amanda texted me at 1:14 p.m. while I was in a meeting. "Babe, we should go see a notary this weekend, just to make it official." I didn't reply right away. When I finally did, I just wrote back, "Well, see," she replied with a heart emoji like she thought I was giving in. By Saturday, she cranked up the pressure. She came into my home office around 11:30 a.m., plopped herself in the chair across from me, and said, "I talked to my cousin Derek. He knows someone who can get the deed paperwork done quick. All you have to do is sign." I looked her in the eye. "Amanda, why are you pushing this so hard? You don't pay the mortgage, you don't cover property taxes, you don't even split the utilities evenly. Why would I hand you half of my house?" She snapped back, "Because I'm your partner, you're supposed to trust me." I replied, "Trust doesn't mean signing over property. Trust is loyalty, honesty, showing up when things are tough. Not this." That was when she said something that chilled me. She muttered, "If you don't sign, maybe you don't really deserve a girlfriend who's this committed." I knew then she wasn't joking. Something darker was going on. That afternoon, I drove to my parents' place in Worthington. My mom served me coffee at the kitchen counter. While I spilled everything, my dad, who's a retired cop, leaned back and said, "She's trying to trap you, son. Document everything. If she pulls anything shady, you'll need evidence." So I did. I started a folder on my laptop called House Nonsense. Every time she brought it up, I logged the date and time, and her exact words. I recorded a couple conversations with her knowledge. Ohio is a one-party consent state, so legally I was in the clear. The following week, on Wednesday at 3:14 p.m., Amanda left her laptop open on the couch while she showered. I'm not proud, but curiosity got the better of me. Glanced at the screen and saw an email draft to someone named Tony. It read, "Once the house is in my name, we're set, I'll finally be free." I froze. My heart pounded. Who the hell was Tony? I screenshotted it with my phone before she could close it. That night, while she slept, I dug deeper. I found messages on her phone. Between her and this Tony guy. They weren't just friends. They were making plans, weekend trips, flirty messages, and one message that made my stomach turn. Can't wait till he hands over the house. Then we'll be golden. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I called Chris the next morning. Cheating. I told him. And she's planning to screw me out of my house. He sighed. All right, man. We've got her, don't let her know yet. Let's gather more. So I played along. When Amanda asked at dinner, have you thought about the paperwork? I smiled and said, yeah, maybe we can look at it soon. She lit up like one over the next 2 weeks. I collected everything, screenshots, texts, even a recorded call where she told her cousin Derek, he's gonna sign. I just know it. But the breaking point came on a Friday night at 8:46 p.m. We were sitting on the porch drinking beers when she leaned back and said, Tony thinks should sell this place after you sign. We could get a condo downtown. I froze. She had slipped up. She thought I didn't know who Tony was. I said carefully, who's Tony? She blinked fast. Tony's just a coworker. I raised an eyebrow. A coworker who's planning your living situation. She scrambled. I didn't mean it like that, but I didn't push further. I just nodded. Inside though, I knew the clock was ticking. I spent that weekend moving my valuables, my late grandfather's watch, important paperwork, cash savings into a safe deposit box at my bank. I wasn't about to risk her pulling anything drastic. By Sunday evening, she was on me again. So when are we meeting your lawyer? Let's just do this already. I smiled faintly and said, soon. Meanwhile, I was preparing the reveal. The following Tuesday at exactly 5:32 p.m., I invited Amanda to sit down in the living room. I had my laptop open on the coffee table. She sat down with her usual glass of wine, looking smug. So she said, are we finally doing this? I clicked a folder on my laptop and spun it toward her. Screenshots filled the screen. Her emails, her texts with Tony, her cousin Derek's messages. Her face went white. She stammered, where did you get that? I looked her dead in the eye. You wanted me to sign over the house. Instead, I signed up for clarity, and now I have all of it. Her jaw clenched. You went through my stuff. I shrugged. You tried to steal mine. She stood up shaking, and shouted, you don't understand. Tony loves me. He wants a future with me. You're just comfortable. Stayed, seated, calm as ever. Then go have your future with Tony. But you're not getting this house. She stormed out that night around 9:17 p.m., slamming the door so hard, the picture frames rattled. I didn't follow. I just sat there sipping my beer, realizing the woman I thought I'd marry had turned into a stranger scheming against me. And that was just the beginning of the fallout. Amanda didn't come home. That night, around 1:22 a.m., I got a text that just said, you'll regret this. I didn't reply. Instead, I screenshotted it and added it to my folder. By the next morning, I was on the phone with Chris again. Said, don't be surprised if she tries something crazy. Change your locks today. Cancel any joint accounts if you have them. Luckily, we never had joint bank accounts. But I did exactly as he said, called a locksmith, and had the locks changed by noon. At 3:47 p.m., Amanda showed up at the door rattling the handle. She started banging and yelling, you can't lock me out. This is my house too. I calmly opened the door with the chain still on, and said, no, Amanda, this house is mine. You don't live here anymore. She screamed, I'll call the cops. I said go ahead. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, 2 officers arrived. Amanda was outside crying, telling them I had kicked her out of our house. I handed them the deed and mortgage paperwork, all with my name alone. I even showed them her text, demanding I sign it over. The officers turned to her and said, ma'am, his name is the only one on this property. You'll have leave. The look on her face when they escorted her away, I'll never forget it. But it didn't stop there. A week later, I got served with papers. Amanda was trying to sue me, claiming we had a common law marriage, and that she was entitled to half of my assets. Chris reviewed the documents and nearly laughed. Ohio doesn't even recognize common law marriage, unless it was before 1991. She has no case. Still, I had to go through the motions. We showed up in court for the first hearing on April 7th. At 9:00 a.m., Amanda walked in holding hands with Tony. Yes, Tony, the guy she'd been sneaking around with. He was wearing a cheap suit that looked one size too big, and she looked like she'd just walked out of a salon. They actually sat there smirking, like they had already won. When the judge asked her attorney to present evidence, they handed over nothing but a few pictures of us together, and some vague statements of shared life responsibilities. Meanwhile, Chris calmly slid over my binder timestamps, texts, emails, screenshots of her saying she wanted me to sign over the house, so she and Tony could be golden. The judge glanced through it for about 3 minutes before saying, "Ms. Reynolds, I see no legal grounds for your claim. Case dismissed." Amanda's face turned bright red. Tony leaned over and hissed something at her and she stormed out of the courtroom. I thought it was finally over, but no. 2 weeks later, I got a call from my bank's fraud department. Someone had tried to open a line of credit in my name using social security number. They caught it quickly and froze the attempt. When I asked who it was, they couldn't legally say, but the branch manager slipped and said, well, the applicant listed their phone number as Amanda Reynolds. That was it. I filed a police report for attempted identity theft. I spoke with Detective Harris, said, well, look into this, but you've already got a pretty strong paper trail. By mid-May, Amanda was in real trouble. Between the failed lawsuit and the fraud investigation, her perfect little plan was falling apart. That's when the desperate messages started. At 10 night, I got a string of texts. "I'm sorry, Tony used me. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Can we talk?" I didn't reply. Then she showed up outside my work parking lot at 5:02 p.m. The next day, she was crying, mascara streaked down her face, saying, "Please just give me another chance. Tony's gone. He left me," said, flatly. "Amanda, you laughed in my face and told me to give you my house or lose you. Then you tried to steal from me. That's not love. That's manipulation." She sobbed. "I don't have anywhere to go." I looked her dead in the eye and said, "That's a personal problem." Then I walked away over the summer, hearing rumors. A mutual friend told me Amanda had moved in with Tony, but a month later, Tony kicked her out after finding out she drained his credit card. Another friend said she was bouncing between couches, burning bridges, everywhere she went. Meanwhile, my life got better. I rented out my spare room to a grad student named Ethan, who paid his rent on time and didn't cause drama. I started going to the gym regularly, got a promotion at work, and even bought myself a new truck, paid in cash. By September, Amanda was arrested for the identity theft attempt. Turns out she tried the same trick on Tony. Accounts too. Detective Harris called me personally. She's looking at multiple charges. You'll probably be asked to testify. I did testify in January. The courtroom was small, maybe 20 seats, but it felt surreal seeing her in the defendant's chair. She wouldn't even look at me. I told the jury about the texts, the demands, the threats, the fraud attempts. It was all laid out cleanly. Her defense tried to spin it like she was just desperate and heartbroken, but the jury didn't buy it. She was found guilty on 2 counts of fraud and sentenced to 2 years probation, community service, and mandatory counseling. The hearing, I walked out into the crisp winter air and felt free. For the first time in over a year, I wasn't carrying the weight of her schemes. And the irony, the house she wanted so badly is now worth almost double what I paid. Every month when I make my mortgage payment, I smile knowing she tried everything and ended up with nothing. I sometimes get comments from people asking, "Don't you regret wasting years with her?" Honestly, no, because I learned exactly how strong I can be when someone tries to take me down. I stayed calm, I kept my dignity, and I let the truth do the heavy lifting. Amanda's out there somewhere, probably chasing her next scheme. But me, I'm doing just fine. Edit. To everyone asking if I'm dating again. Yeah, I met someone new at the gym. Her name's Rachel. She's the total opposite of Amanda, kind, down to earth, and she actually laughs at my dumb jokes instead of using laughter as a weapon. Thanks for following this whole crazy ride. And if Amanda ever sees this, here's my PS to her. You told me, sign the house over or it's over. Well, it's over and the house is still mine.